Hello, this is going to be the first of a series of videos about how to do stuff on Infobitt. I hope you find them helpful. So the topic this time will be how to start a new bit. Infobitt's focus is on the most important stories of the day. And so top stories is mainly what we work on until it becomes really filled up. Now right now there's a lot of stories that we've missed. So I'm going to look for other top stories. The first step that you need to follow is to read through all the news that's there. And so let me show you. I'm clicking through to my rank. And so this shows you my rank, which, because I've been ranking earlier, it happens to be different from the community rank. And down below is the pool. These are all the older bits. There's one here which was a duplicate, which is newer than 12 hours old. Now, you don't have to have read every single bit that is in the system, but you do generally have to look at the current top stories. And it will help, if there's a bunch of stuff in unranked, it will help to look that over as much as you can. If there's too much, that's still fine. You can get a pretty good impression, anyway, of what the top stories are. Now, when I'm finding a story that I want to write about, what I normally do is I go to Google News. Even though they don't always have the freshest news there, they usually have some of the biggest news. And if we don't have it on the site yet, then I want to make sure that we have it there. And I would encourage you to do the same thing. Look for the big stories that we don't have yet on the site. Now, just because there are a bunch of articles on the same theme doesn't mean that there's really a big story there. So I notice, of course, there's a bunch of stories here about Jeb Bush. He's probably given a speech. So let's have a quick look. I'm going to open this one and I'm going to read it. Okay, so I've read through the article, and Jeb Bush is criticizing President Obama for being indecisive in his foreign policy, just like the headline says, which doesn't strike me as being very big news, frankly, not terribly surprising. Moreover, it favors one candidate over the remarks of other candidates. So I think it's really not worth worrying about. I mean, you might disagree, of course. This is not Infobitt policy. I'm just explaining how I personally think about it. So let's look at some other things. Okay, so we've got a bit about this. This is another one we don't have. Let's see here. Obama tries to split religion from terrorism at summit. Aha. So what is news is that there is a summit going on, and there's probably lots of little factoids about what different people are saying that we can gather. So let's make a bit about that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the URL, and just to make it a little bit easier for me to go back and forth between tabs, I'm actually going to pull this Google News tab out and put it to the side. And so now I can just do Control-Tab back and forth between these two windows, which I like to do. So now I'm going over here and I'm going to go ahead and click on the Add Bit button, or I can just press the N key, and then I'm going to put that in. I want to read the first half of the article in order to figure out what the most important point is. Okay, so I have created my first fact in this bit, and I think it gets the basic idea of the conference. Okay, so now at this point, what I might do is go back through the article and find other important stuff. The minimum number of facts, obviously, is one. There's something, psychologically nice about seeing the two dots there, as you can see here. Now, to get 3, you have to add 8 facts. You don't have to do that. If you make an 8-fact bit, though, then it's generally pretty good. As Harry here has done, he's added multiple sources, and the overall coverage of the story is apt to be rather good. Now, you can get the basic idea with just 1 or 2 facts. You certainly want the fact to be long enough. Now, I made this fact pretty long indeed. Something like this, I don't mean to pick on Craig in particular, but this is a little bit vague. The DNA of bacteria can pass on genetic traits to offspring. I think I would put it something more like this one right here. Washington University scientists discovered that bacteria in the mother's body can pass along traits to offspring. Thus, perhaps microorganisms contribute significantly to our genetics and heredity. So that's more wordy, but sometimes you have to use more words to be quite clear about what's going on. Interesting story, that. Now, after I have created my bit, I'm going to want to move it. Now, this particular bit I don't think is as important as this one, and probably not as important as that one. What about this? Now we're getting to the point. It's somewhere in here is where I would put it. Actually, I think this is one of the more important stories. This actually belongs over here. Yeah, I'm going to put this one in the 4th place right here. Yep, that seems like the right place for it. Okay, suppose I wanted to find another new bit. I could go back here. Another thing I like to do is to go to Drudge. Whether you agree with the bias or not, Drudge often finds some interesting things and just jumps on them. So, let's see here. Here comes the Siberian Express. Let's see here. If we go back to Google News, let's see if that is... Yeah, it's not really showing up in U.S. news or in top stories. So let's see if this is very important, because Drudge often is not reliable at identifying important news. Sometimes he gets it right on, and he gets it before everybody else does, but a lot of times he doesn't. Okay, so it's just a cold snap. It's not a big deal. It probably is worth writing a bit about if you were interested in it. Oh no, this is interesting though. Record-breaking cold could be on the way Thursday. Yeah, that's interesting. So what I'll do is I'll go back here and I'm going to look for cold Chicago, and this... Very interesting. Near record cold. Yeah, so I'll go and check out something like this. This makes it clearer. It's not just a cold snap. It's actually near record cold. Yeah, that's the Thursday thing. It's not certain. So it's still not a big deal until it actually happens. Anyway, I'm not going to actually make it, but now, anyway, I've got this story or these stories that Drudge has linked to, and I've got these stories here, and it might not just be Chicago, I'll like look cold Midwest, and yeah, here we go. This is maybe better. Although, look, this is February 16th. You got to look at that. It's like that is not very important. These are more recent. So, and that's what I looked at. You gotta make sure you look at the times. Many of us have found stories that we thought were recent, but were actually a few days old, and that's a little embarrassing, but it's no big deal. Everybody does it from time to time, and those stories just tend to get ranked down because there's always some people who know, and then what we'll do is, we'll go over here to the bitt discussion, and we'll say, hey, this is 2 days old or whatever, and that's a good thing to do, sort of communicate with each other, and it's very much crowdsourced or peer production, which means we really lean on each other to finish work and to fact check and stuff like that. So it's important that you talk to each other. So I hope this has been helpful in giving you an idea about how you might go out and find the news. There are many, many, many other sources, of course, that I could use. Not infrequently, I will go straight to the Washington Post, and I think they actually do a pretty good job at actually highlighting the important news.